Hello, and thanks for watching or listening to us yet again. This is VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell podcast. We're on episode 114. As always, we ask you to leave us a nice review on YouTube or iTunes. That helps push us up those charts a bit, especially iTunes, where we seem to do pretty well when these chart things suddenly appear. You know me, Steve. You know John Evans. Tonight's special guest, chap who needs no introduction. We bring him on 3 or 4 times a year. This is his second appearance this year. Steve Wood, the chief of VIP. How are you, Woodster?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Had a couple of nice days in Cardiff, relaxing, enjoying the show, which I wasn't doing. So just put some fancy gear on, as you say, and turn up.
I tell you what, we couldn't miss you in the crowd there, could we? With that Rupert the Bear check jacket you had on. Now, I'm only thinking your wife Lynn sent you to Primani the day before.
Aye, that's the one.
Steve, go on, John.
Go on, Steve. Hey, Steve, yeah, right. I've seen Josh Warrington's not one of our topics today, but it was a Cordina fight, wasn't it? It's a brilliant fight. And then the rumours started coming out with Cordina Warrington. We've heard Jazza Warrington. Tell everybody listening what's going on there with Josh. I've heard Pitufo Diaz as well.
We're going to speak to Cordina later on, so just tell us, Josh, mate, what's the latest? Because Jazza Dickens thinks you're all ducking him.
Yeah. No. Situation on that one is that we'd been promised the Lara fight for 6 weeks. We was told Leeds was booked May the 29th, and then we started hearing the bongo drums that we weren't getting it. And unfortunately, me and Josh knew 2 days before we were told by Matchroom that we'd lost that fight, that Josh had been told he was having at Leeds on May the 29th, and he'd been working to training for 6 weeks. So what we've been told is that Lee Woods had the rematch clause and insisted that it had to be for him, even though we'd agreed that if we won, we would fight Lee Woods next. And there was a situation where the mandatory might be put on us, and we said, look, we'll vacate to get this fight over the line and fight Lee Woods next. You know, we've said we'd fight him, and we will do so. As far as we was concerned, that was done. And then it was like, well, it's not fair that we've not been active. We need a date. They offered us June the 10th in London, which is still on offer, but opponent-wise, you know, Jazza was mentioned, but he's on the don't want him list, and Christopher Diaz was mentioned as well, and he was on we don't need him, you know, when we're just getting ready for a big world title fight. So at the moment, we're just looking to see if we can get an opponent for June the 10th. I've given him a couple of names. One, we might have to go to American fight, which would be another massive fight. That's what Josh wants to get involved in. He wants to be in big fights, and he might be have to sit out and wait for the Lara and Woods. But we're not over keen on it because we've just wasted a long time waiting for it. When we was told we was getting it, we didn't get it. So some talks going on, but hopefully Eddie and Frank Smith deliver for us.
And Steve, before we go on VIP Boxing, is it a few more shows and then a break for the summer?
Yeah. I mean, I've decided we'll just do two shows a month now. When we did those 4 in 1 month was just too hard for everyone, but we had to get everyone out, and now we're two in May, 2 in June, 2 in July, and we're going to have August off, mate, yeah.
Gotcha. All right, then, well, now we've got you here to talk boxing, Steve, tonight. John, you've got your bell, your clock and everything there, mate.
All ready to go.
And there's only one place you can start, and that's where, Steve, you're going to start us here, about the Tank versus Garcia at the weekend. What a great event. What a great fight.
Well, was it a great fight?
I mean,
that's what I'm wanting to talk about, is that, you know, you kind of follow the hype sometimes, and I was saying, I think once on this podcast now, that was one of the fights that I really look forward to, and I actually fancied Garcia keeping it long, getting a big lead, and hopefully holding on for it, because I'd rather him have won than Tank. But the thing is, you know, for me saying there's not many fights that get me out of England on a plane over to America, that was one of them. And Sunday afternoon, going home on the train from Cardiff, I was pretty glad I was on the train and not a plane coming back from Vegas, because it would have been a wasted trip. I think the build-up was fantastic for it, and I'd have been at the weigh-in and soaked it all up. But I was disappointed in the fight, mate. Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to go against you, Steve. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I loved the way they both sold the fight. I loved Tank's performance was brilliant. You know, Davis took his defeat. Davis took his defeat like a man. Garcia took his defeat like a man. And I loved the fight. I loved everything around it. And I thought his performance of the Tank, I thought it was awesome. Absolutely awesome. John.
We've been big on Tank for a bit, haven't we? I thought I knew he was going to win. Do you know what it showed? I thought it showed someone who's an out-and-out natural fighter against someone who looks incredible on pads and really good in the gym. Tank was he was just better all around, wasn't he? He took his time. He didn't panic. He figured Garcia out in about 3 minutes and then just beat him up, really. I thought might not have been spectacular every round, but I thought it was a pretty one-sided fight.
Yeah, it was, but I still loved it. You look at the first knockdown, how perfectly he set that up.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, but what I'm saying disappointed me was what you just said. It was one-sided. I didn't expect it to be. I mean, I thought it'd be a very, very close, competitive fight, swinging and ebbing and flowing different ways. But like you say, after the first round, he took over and bossed the fight. So wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, there was you could see levels to it, couldn't you? It was weird, although they built it up as this big super fight between two up and comers. I'm like you, Steve. Lillis, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good, but I was watching it for Tank rather than it being a brilliant fight.
You know what? Garcia, a lot of people, like always, you get written off after a defeat. There's still a good future for him. I think at light welterweight as well, super lightweight as they call it now. That's where his future. He's big enough to go up and has got the frame, I think.
Yeah,
he's only 23, and we're hearing stories now since. I mean, on the night, like you say, he took the defeat very well. He never complained about the rehydration clause which he had to do, and there was no mention of the injury which has come out since from a sparring partner who damaged his ribs in sparring with a similar shot to what Tank hit him with. Yeah,
I mean, he's saying there was a mole and all that in the camp leaking that, but that's happened so often. There's stories of, you go to America and that you've already gone back to the Lewis days and someone would say, I heard about you sparring so-and-so and him hurting you and all that sort of stuff. It just happens. It's part of the boxing that's always going to be here. He didn't need to even bring that up. The way he said.
He took it well.
Yeah. Are we out of time there, John?
Yeah, we're out of time. You ignored the bell.
Oh, I didn't hear it. You're going to have to show that bell. That O going to be doing his pieces. Well, he won't now because the boss man who pays him is there. That Lee Hogan, he'll be doing his pieces. Are you right? Tank Shakur, John.
Yeah, I just hope that I think this now, Tank and Shakur, I think this is the big fight we'll get in the next few years. This is the one, But there's so many similarities between Mayweather and Pacquiao. You've got Mayweather Promotions and Top Rank. You've got an aggressive southpaw against a master boxer. There may be slight differences. I think Shakur's all about fighting. I think Shakur really wants to fight. I just hope this isn't a fight that slips by. This has got everything. This is as good as it gets, I think, Shakur and Tank. They're both similar ages. They're both at their absolute peaks. They're both going to become the men to beat at lightweight, I think. And please don't let egos get in the way of this one and don't let it happen when they're past the best. If Shakur Tank happens in the next 18 months, I think this is I can't think of a bigger fight.
Yeah, but you know what? Mayweather Pacquiao, we got that 6 years too late. That should have been happening around the time Pacquiao beat Hatton and around that time. That's when that should have been happening. You know what? I think Shakur's the only person that can really challenge Tank. Haney could possibly outbox him for long periods, but I think the only other thing that can beat Tank, maybe apart from Shakur, I'm not saying he will, is if he moves through weights, is his size. It was like Lomachenko, still a featherweight. Size would beat him in the end. And I think that's the only thing that's ever going to beat him right now is size, apart from Shakur. And Shakur will give him that fight. But you know what? We talk about super fights and how big will it be, you think? Because we haven't got that mainstream audience in boxing anymore. It's so fragmented with different broadcasters.
Yeah, Tank cracked it at weekend.
Yeah. But let's just hope he can cross over now to them people like Packett, like Mayweather. Took Mayweather years and years to become a superstar.
Well, they're talking at the 650,000 pay-per-views, aren't they, with that fight? And obviously, Garcia played a big part into it with the social media following he's got. And like you were saying, with the crossover boxing, he's one of the few that's got the social media following that you misfit boxers have. But I think the fact that Shaka, over the next couple of performances, will have grown into lightweight, and I think proving his ability will build it into a bigger fight than the Garcia and Tank was. And so I think Davis Shaka Stevenson is, like John says, a fight, a must fight that everybody wants to see, because who I've been talking to in boxing, they're saying like the only person who could possibly beat him, and they're not sure if he would do, is Shaka Stevenson. And obviously I've followed him since he was a featherweight, because he was on the list for a potential opponent for Josh Warrington at featherweight. But he went to super feather and quickly moved up to lightweight. And everyone you speak to about him adores him in the gyms, don't they?
Yeah, it's incredible to think that he come over here and fought Liam Walsh, and there was people thinking Liam would beat him. Incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
down at the Copper Box that night. Yeah. That was seen as a 50-50 coin toss.
Yeah. Round 3. I don't know if you was busy in Cardiff. I don't know how you was watching. There was an absolutely damn awful show on Sky Saturday night. One of the worst I've ever seen. Absolutely shameful what Boxer put on there Saturday night. But there was Martin Bakole. I don't know if you saw his fight against the guy Sky called the Hulk, Shevardzutsky. He looked a real handful in that fight. Shevardzutsky would have been acceptable for most British heavyweights. He was 10-0 and beating some semi-names on there. But you know what? Bakole looked an absolute handful in how he dismantled him. 20 stone, through his shots. And you know what? He lost to a man, Michael Hunter, 8 fights ago, 4.5 years ago, who's like the who needs him. Bakole looked like the who needs him of the heavyweight division. If you look at him now, he's got size. He's on a roll. He's won about 8 or 9 since that setback against Hunter when people questioned his heart. He's now the heavyweight who needs him, because you look at him, he brings excitement, but what else does he bring to the table? He's not a ticket seller. He's an African who lives in Scotland, who lives a nice life in Scotland, I dare say, but nobody... he hasn't got that X factor to bring to the table that would sell tickets and make him a draw. Him versus Zhang would be something else, wouldn't it?
I didn't see the fight on Saturday, but I've seen a bit of Bakole, and I've been listening to the rumours of his sparring. So if he's as good as they're saying in the sparring, he'd be the unified champion of the world now, wouldn't he? So no, I'm not having it with him. I think when he steps up and has a test, he gets beaten. It's hard. I remember, I think it was on a Friday night BBC show, wasn't it, or something, when he fought Hunter, and Billy had to kick him out into the corner because he said he had a sore shoulder. And it's hard to forget about that, isn't it? That's what I kind of remember Bakole with. So I think we can find out if he's as good as you say, because obviously Boxer and Sky are desperate for an heavyweight success, and I know we're going to speak about one in a bit who potentially could be one in Fraser Clark, but this kid can't turn anyone down, so they can chuck him in. So I think they've got to invest in him and find out if he can be the man that they desperately need. And I don't think he will be, but he's like entertaining him and Dillian White having a shout out match at each other, WWE and all. But no, listen, good luck to him. He's uprooted his life in Africa and gone living in Scotland, and I hope he makes it. I just don't think he will.
Oh, John, we never got John's Bakole.
No, I'd side more with Woody.
Right.
Fingers crossed they make that Dillian White fight, because that'll sink or swim in it.
Yeah. Right, Woody, Battle of Britain, Cordina, Zelfa. Come on, tell us it's happening. Give us an exclusive.
Well, I was telling you before that we'd made the fight for Josh and Lara, and that didn't happen. But we was told that if we win on Saturday night and whoever won the final, we've got the world title next. So I'm sat here now, nothing signed and confirmed, but we've been told that Zelfa Barrett's next fight will be for the world title against Joe Cordina. So I was just a bit disappointed on Saturday that he was like 4 fights away from the top of the bill. I thought they should have used him just before the fight between Cordina and Rakimov, and then more eyes would have been on him, and it'd have been better for the fight when they come together. But apart from that, 2 good performances. Zelfa was punch perfect. Maybe criticise him a little bit because he didn't finish the show off after putting him down early and hurting him a few times. But you could say the same with Cordina. Rakimov was absolutely gone at the end of the second, struggling on his feet to walk at the start of the third. Yet he went on to push him in a very, very close fight. I had it even, but for the knockdown for him. So that's how close that was. And he looked like he was going to get him out of there. So both of them, fantastic performances, but a little thing about not finishing them off.
Yeah. I tell you, it did do. It showed how good Zelfa was when first 6 rounds against Rakimov, didn't it?
All that today, yeah.
Yeah, he was really, really good. Zelfa had it his own way for 6 rounds against Rakimov. Cordina was in a right fight all the way through. But yeah, how good was Zelfa as well? Coming back from that defeat, having his heart broke a little bit, but he looked better than he's ever looked, I thought. The way he was he wasn't using up all his ammunition and tiring out. He kept that power and kept that speed right the way through the fight, which is something he struggled with a couple of times, isn't it? He slowed down a little bit. But I thought Zelfa was brilliant, and I can't wait for that fight. It's a real sharpshooters fight, isn't it, him and Cordina?
Yeah, I just hope that they don't go and do a unification with Garcia or Navarrete or somebody. I just hope that doesn't happen, because it's the fight we want. And that the other night, that Zelfa's performance should give you the appetite. And I get what Steve says about him being close at the bill to help sell the fight. But yeah, Zelfa was fantastic the other night. And as you say, John, in the past, he's faded late in fights, certainly in Rakimov, the first one. And I've said on this podcast, I've always wondered if he should be at lightweight. But there you go, the other night, all credit to him. It was a great performance. And it's incredible after all these years as a pro now, because he's been a pro about a decade, I think, Zelfa, maybe longer, that he's still doing this weight. It's incredible.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
John, over to you. Get it made. What's got to be made?
Stop fucking about with this British heavyweight title.
Here he goes.
Jesus Christ. We're having arguments about A-sides, TV channels, purse negotiations. It's novice heavyweights. Adelaide, Wardley's done well. Fraser Clark. Just get the fights made. Jesus Christ. The division, it's just bogging down, isn't it, with all these people and their egos and stuff. For fighting for a British heavyweight title. Get the fights made. Whoever comes through this British title scene, move on. But this toing and throwing and taking forever to negotiate these British titles, it's driving me mad. Driving me mad.
Yeah. Listen, it could end up being a massive purse bid, couldn't it? Because Boxer and Sky will want the fight, and Eddie and DAZN will want the fight, and it's already building up nicely with the games that they're already playing, saying it'll be on our terms and this and that. It won't be. It's a British title that's been mandated by the British Boxing Board of Control. It's going out for purse bids. If they can't make a deal, and I'm sure they won't because they both want it, put the big envelope in. Whoever wins, get the fight on, and let us all see a good British title fight. Because, as you say, he's only had 6 fights. I don't understand how the Boxing Board of Control have mandated him for it. But fair play, they've done it. Everyone wants to see it. The both boxers saying they want to do it. Yeah, stop pissing around. Put your envelope in. The winner put it.
I've got no problem with him being mandated. You know what? He's fought. Obviously, David Adelaide was the other person people were talking about being put in front of him. But you know what? I think he deserves a nod. They fought very similar style of opponents. I think Kamil's Sosanowski might be the only common opponent. And you can argue Clark's opposition has been better, but you know what? As an amateur, he boxed. It shouldn't be clear. He boxed at a higher level as an amateur. WSB, was it a bronze in the Olympics? I think he medalled at the European Championships, which are really hard to win. I got no problem. What I'm scared of is you talk about egos in boxing, which I think we're going to carry on with in a minute, that could stop something. If whoever loses the first bid pulls their man out, that's the sort of thing that would really piss me off, because then you're only holding the title up even more, while Adelaide most probably gets nominated to fight for it. That's my big fear here, because we've seen that so often in boxing. But I'm with you, John. Just get it made. It's, get Wardley Clark made. You could even talking last week, if Wardley's people win the purse bid, Eddie Earn going to Ipswich Football Ground with it.
Yeah, it needs to be done this summer. And if they get moving, you could have Wardley Clark, you could have Adelaide against the winner, you can have Solomon Dakers against the loser, and all of a sudden you're getting to see with people who might actually be able to do it at a higher level. But all this messing about, it just parks up the sport, doesn't it? Parks up the belts and parks up the sport.
Final round.
You need to tell John.
Yeah,
send the invoice.
Round 6. This dream of this great heavyweight matchups in the desert in Saudi, Wilder against AJ, Tyson against Usyk. If this is pulled off by the various people, it's most probably the greatest coup in heavyweight boxing history if this Saudi Arabia thing comes off. But I know there's going to be trillions of money. I mean, the people who are putting this together must shit money because they got that much of it. But how hard can you realistically see it happening in December? You've got rival broadcasters, promoters that don't like each other having to sit round at the table. There is so much to do, and I'm really sceptical this gets all done for December. And again, I'm more concerned that while these talks will be going on for another month or so, and they're may fall apart, you're just parking up the division even more with people waiting.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing is that much money involved in this that they can't blow it. It'd be impossible to blow this one. So there's supposed to be 4 of them fighting in December, and then 2 back fighting there in March in the unification fighting. So I think there's that much money that they'll just own the rights to everything, the Saudis, and then they'll get the rights to sell the TV to whoever they decide they want to, or the highest bidder.
Right.
So I think chuck all that dough in. I think from the numbers I'm hearing, it's impossible for this not to happen. And what a great night, 2 on the same night, and then the 2 winners going to fight again each in March. I'm saying it's going to happen, and I know that normally you would say somebody's going to come and balls this up, but money talks, and I think on this one they're going to pull it off.
That's incredible, Steve, you said that, because now you said the Saudis have all the rights. That cuts out the TV issues, John.
Steve, are you going to charge him a little fee for nicking your idea from the area title tournament you put on?
Anyway, just let one of my lads go on the undercard and we'll be happy.
Yeah, I tell you, like you just said then, I'm glad we're not staggering it. I'm glad we're doing it in one night. That'll be the biggest event I can think of for years. 2 big fights on the same card.
I think, like Steve said, the biggest night ever, and everyone still talks about the Rumble in the Jungle, don't they? That's just historic and in a legend status with the films and books and everything that's come out of it. And I think this will be up there and probably surpass it. You don't need an undercard. You could just have the 2 fights on card.
Yeah, that would make it even more.
What's the ideal final then? What do you think's the ideal final?
Ideal final for me, because the British would be Fury Joshua finally happening. That for me, because of what it means in this country. I don't give a fuck about the rest of the world, be honest with you. Yeah. In boxing.
What about the worst outcome? Usyk Joshua.
Usyk Joshua, but yeah.
Because I'd watch Fury Wilder fight every week.
Usyk Joshua is the one, because he's beaten him so comprehensively turned out. He's got him physically, he's got him spooked mentally. I think it'd be Fury Usyk, but I want it to be Fury Joshua.
Yeah. But if you think Usyk had him mentally, what do you think Tyson would do with him. I think Fury had unravel him before he got to the press conference. You know, he'd be in bits mentally.
But we're also going to get to see the best fight, the best matchup out of all these Wilder Joshua, isn't it?
Yeah, it is one of those things where, you know, I get what you say about the Rumble in the Jungle, but the reason we had so many books about that was the background of that. Journalists being out there for 6 weeks waiting for the fight to go on and the whole story of it. Whereas, you know, Saudi Arabia would just be right, go in there, they're plonking up an arena, you fight and go home.
I think with Fury, Wilder and them out there, you might find a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
Good. Be good. Well, you know what? You've given me a bit more hope for it. Before we go, John, do you think it comes off?
Oh, Woody's hard. Trust Woody. He's got the inside track. If Steve has heard that there's so much money in it, then yeah, I'll go with Woody. But boxing tells you no, someone will fuck it up. Someone will do something.
Oh, you know what? I'm so, you know, it must be because I'm a fucking dinosaur now, because I'm so cynical about everything in boxing, you know.
Guys, you've only been a matchmaker about 6 months, shoot.
Oh, mate, I tell you what, mate. You've given me, Woody, the most stressful job ever, mate, with weights and all that, and he's got to lose a pound and all that.
2 weeks into you selling out what a great job it was, and I was telling
It's all right.
basically he has a fucking heart attack and his hairs fell out. Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Anyway, fellas, thanks for coming on. Woody, we'll get you back on after the summer break to tell us about what's coming up on VIP the last 3 months of the year. John, thanks as always for coming on. I'll let you go as well now and do whatever you're doing with Lloyd, your beautiful bulldog there, British bulldog. And thanks everyone else for watching or listening, and we'll see you all next week. We might try and get Ryan Walsh on next week, who's always a good guest.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Cheers then. Thanks, Steve. Cheers, John.
Info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north. Click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.